first of all, our announcements are we're still trying to collect recipes for our cookbook, but I know both of you have submitted them already. But anyone else who's watching the recording, it'd be great if you could submit some more. Also, there's this new thing that we're doing. Well, it's not really new, but on the 31st of March, we're having a Meet the Admins party. Kayla is flying out from Virginia, and it's going to be at my house. For those of you in Utah, it's going to be from 3 to 5 p.m. Mountain Time. So you can come over to my house and play games, eat snacks, hang out with us, all that stuff. So if you can make it, that'd be great. And the details will be sent out soon to those of you who are in Utah. So yeah, it's going to be awesome. So let's jump into our discussion. So first of all, I'm going to tell you why I love writing. I love writing because I can create worlds in people's minds. I mean, it's so powerful. I can really create whole worlds in people's minds and imaginations and create different cultures and everything just by writing words on paper. I can make readers laugh or cry or keep them in suspense as much as I want. And it's so awesome because I can do whatever I want as a writer, and I can make the readers do whatever I want. It's pretty powerful. Also, I can reveal what I want or not reveal what I want. I can keep secrets or give it all away. I have complete control, and it's a really powerful feeling. So why do you guys like writing? You can type in the chat or raise your hand or turn on your mic or whatever. Go ahead, Melody.
All right, so I like to write because, I don't know, I just get all these different stories in my head, and when that happens to me, I just need to write it down, otherwise it's going to be gone. I once heard this quote where it's if you want to read a good book but it hasn't been written, then write it, So, every time I get ideas like that, I just want to write it down. And then I get hooked on that idea, and then I ignore some of my other ideas that I was already working on, and then it gets chaotic. But once I start focusing on something specific again, that's when I get it all done, and it's really awesome to see what happens after that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I really like that poem that you said. I know, for me, I'll, have a really weird dream, and if I don't write it down within, 5 minutes of when I wake up, I'll, forget it. So I have to write it down quickly. So for the person who just joined, we are talking about why we love writing. Odessa, did you have any thoughts?
What's Sasha?
Oh, Odessa says, I like writing because I can create anything I want and be in my own little world, almost like I'm drawn into my book. I feel the same way. You watch a movie or whatever, and for me, when I write a book, I feel like I'm living a movie. It's so amazing. Same with I read a book, but when I write a book, I have complete control of the situation. So it's really cool. So just wondering, how do you guys get inspiration for a story? Go ahead, Odessa.
Because I read a lot of books and watch movies and stuff, and I just get good ideas. My friend, she gets ideas from dreams, but that never works for me. But I don't have dreams, but I get them from books and stuff, my ideas.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have the same thing. I have really, really weird dreams sometimes, and I had this one dream where I was actually the person and the main character of the story, and I had to decide what I was going to do. I was living a book. It was so cool. And some people don't have weird dreams, and that's okay. I get inspiration from listening to music, or I have this. What was that? Okay, so when I watch movies, I like to watch movies that are what I call like story movies. Like there's some movies you're just like, this makes no sense. But then there's other movies you're like, I could totally make a book out of this. Like How to Train Your Dragon. Like that is such a cool movie, I decided when I watched it. But maybe some of you are thinking that's a crazy movie. So right now we're going to watch a video called The Hero Cycle. I'm going to try and screen share it, but that might not work. It might be too choppy. So if not, I'll just paste it in the chat. It's called The Hero Cycle video. Some of you have seen it. Some of you may have not. So it's a really good video, though. It's definitely worth watching, and it's really helpful when you're writing a book. It's basically about the ideas and like how a basic story goes. Hold on, it's starting without me. Okay. Share screen, and I want to share with computer sound. Okay. Let me know if this is too loud or too quiet or whatever.
What do Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo all have in common with the heroes of ancient myths? What if I told you they are all variants of the same hero? Do you believe that? Joseph Campbell did. He studied myths from all over the world and published a book called The Hero with 1,000 Faces, retelling dozens of stories and explaining how each represents the monomyth, or hero's journey. So, what is the hero's journey? Think of it as a cycle. The journey begins and ends in the hero's ordinary world, but the quest passes through an unfamiliar, special world. Along the way, there are some key events. Think about your favorite book or movie. Does it follow this pattern? Status quo, that's where we start. 1 o'clock, call to adventure. The hero receives a mysterious message, an invitation, a challenge. 2 o'clock, assistance. The hero needs some help, probably from someone older, wiser. 3 o'clock, departure. The hero crosses the threshold from his normal, safe home and enters the special world and adventure. We're not in Kansas anymore. 4 o'clock, trials. Being a hero is hard work. Our hero solves a riddle, slays a monster, escapes from a trap. 5 o'clock, approach. It's time to face the biggest ordeal, the hero's worst fear. 6 o'clock, crisis. This is the hero's darkest hour. He faces death and possibly even dies, only to be reborn. 7 o'clock, treasure. As a result, the hero claims some treasure, special recognition, or power. 8 o'clock, result. This can vary between stories. Do the monsters bow down before the hero, or do they chase him as he flees from the special world? 9 o'clock, return. After all that adventure, the hero returns to his ordinary world. 10 o'clock, new life. This quest has changed the hero. He has outgrown his old life. 11 o'clock, resolution. All the tangled plot lines get straightened out. 12 o'clock, status quo, but upgraded to a new level. Nothing is quite the same once you're a hero. Many popular books and movies follow this ancient formula pretty closely, but let's see how well The Hunger Games fits the hero's journey template. When does Katniss Everdeen hear a call to adventure that gets the story moving? When her sister's name is called from the lottery. How about assistance? Is anyone going to help her on her adventure? Hey, Mitch. What about departure? Does she leave her ordinary world? She gets on a train to the capital. Okay, so you get the idea. What do you have in common with Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo? Well, you're human, just like them. The hero's journey myth exists in all human cultures and keeps getting updated because we humans reflect on our world through symbolic stories of our own lives. You leave your comfort zone, have an experience that transforms you, and then you recover and do it again. You don't literally slay dragons or fight Voldemort, but you face problems just as scary. Joseph Campbell said, "In the cave you fear to enter lies the treasure you seek." What is the symbolic cave you fear to enter? Auditions for the school
Okay, so I think that's pretty good. You can kind of get the idea. Hopefully most of you can see that. If you couldn't see it, I'll paste the link in the chat later. So basically, that's like the outline that most stories follow, or at least like really good stories. You don't have to follow it. You can edit it, or sometimes people might switch it around or whatever. But that's the basic outline of a story. So like, if you think of maybe a movie that most of us watched, I don't know if you watched Harry Potter, but Harry Potter, like, he starts out as a regular boy, and then he kind of hears about, oh, there's this wizard school, and I'm a wizard, and he finds this, and then, I don't know, Hagrid helps him or something, and then, I don't know, it just kind of goes on. There's kind of different variants, but it's kind of interesting. Like, I'll be watching a movie, and I'll be like, wow, this is this part in the story, or whatever. So what do you guys think of the hero cycle? Any thoughts about it that you want to share?
Ooh, Mimi, over here.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Rachel. But I actually watched this movie called Finding Joe, where it basically talked about this, and it was really cool. And I just don't know where I was going, but yeah, I saw that, and I just knew it was like, yeah, that's it. And you can apply it not just to stories, but our life too.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I mean, it's in like all sorts of movies and books and just like all sorts of stuff. It's really good. So, unless anyone has any thoughts about that, we can go on to the next part. It's kind of, I don't have a lot of stuff to say today, but that's okay. So, I'm going to talk about right now writer's block. I don't know if all of you write or if you watch movies or, what your kind of
I do.
style is. Yeah. I like writing books, and I know sometimes I'll just be like, it won't even be like an intense scene or something. It'll just be like a boring scene, and like, I have no idea what else to write. So what kind of things do you guys do to get over writer's block? We talked about listening to music or having a weird dream. Odessa says she gets writer's block every other day. Yeah, me too. Go ahead, Melody.
Call me whatever you like. So I found recently that when I'm writing books and I don't know what to write, considering that these people are like from the past, I decided that they would have like a flashback or something fun. So like I have flashbacks like every other chapter, but at least I get past that part and I'm able to keep moving forward.
Yeah, I just have this problem where I'll just like get to the end of a paragraph. I'm just like, I have no idea what to write. So I'll just like stop writing for like several hours or even like
I have something to contribute.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Rachel.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Oh, I hear you now. My phone just went blank for like a minute.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so usually whenever I can't figure anything out, I will give myself 5 minutes or so, and I'll just write everything that comes to mind. Like, for example, if there's some obstacle that I need the character to overcome, I'll just start writing all the little things that can happen, and if I have a little spark of idea, then I'll continue it down, and I'll just start, then I'll have an idea, and then it's like, whoa, yeah, that's great, let's do it.
That's awesome. Yeah. I was talking with Corbin. He really wanted to be here today, but he couldn't make it. He had something else to go to. He gave some ideas of like skipping ahead to a different part of the book. I know I get that a lot. Like, I'll be like, I need to write right here, but then I get this idea for like the last battle climax. I'm like, I have to write this right now. So I'll write it, and then I can go back to the part after I write it. And I've actually done that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It's really helpful.
Same.
So I was going to say something. I don't remember what it was. Oh, yeah. So, like, I'll be writing something, and I'll get to the end of the paragraph, and then I just won't know what to write. And so, I'll take a break for, like, a week. And then I'm just like, okay, I have to finish the story. And so I'll just make myself write. That whole page might be really terrible, but at least I'll get past it, and I can go back and edit it later. So, right now, we're going to talk about how you create like your setting or your world. Like, I write kind of fantasy, but I also write people in like regular everyday too. So what kind of worlds or ideas, creations do you write in the regular world, fantasy world, different worlds? What kind of area settings do you have your characters in? I think some people are typing. And then you could talk about how you came up with the idea for the area or why you chose that thing. Melody says, futuristic Earth is a fantastic background. That's cool. Right now,
yeah, that one's fun to write about. I like that one too.
Yeah, that's really cool. Hey, Kiara. Right now we're talking about what kind of worlds we have in our books and what kind of settings. One that I'm using right now is this island called Morganaya. And it's just like a regular island kind of, but like in the medieval times. And they kind of have magic, but it's just kind of like there, but it's not really like involved. Doesn't affect their lives except that there's this magical beast that's their enemy and he comes and attacks them. So it's a little bit cliche if you just think about it right now, which cliche means kind of like just like every other story, like a fairy tale. But it's really not once you get into it and actually read it, even though it sounds like it from a quick description. Odessa says she writes historical fiction. I'm also writing a new book where the girl goes into the future. That's cool. I actually had this idea about the future where I would write about like this e-world, like this electronic world. My brother and I like planned it out completely. This whole electronic world, and they had like fake weather and gravity. They could be like on their ceiling and it wouldn't even matter. You couldn't even tell. Like it was really, really cool. Like we planned out everything and like drew maps and stuff. But then I never ended up writing the book, so it was cool anyway. So we're gonna watch this video now that's really helpful. It's also a TED Ed. It's called How to Create Worlds or something like that, how to create a fictional world. And it's really good, really helpful. Just talking about what things you kind of need in your world. So let's see if I can load it up here and share screen. Let's see. If you have trouble hearing, let me know.
In J.R.R.'s world, Gandalf is one of 5 wizards sent by the Valar to guide the inhabitants of Middle-earth in their struggles against the dark forces Sauron. Gandalf's body was mortal, subject to the physical rules of Middle-earth, but his spirit was immortal, as seen when he died as Gandalf the Grey and resurrected as Gandalf the White. According to the Wachowski script, an awakened human only has to link up and hack the neon binary code of the Matrix to learn how to fly a helicopter in a matter of seconds. Or if you are the one, or one of the ones, you don't even need a helicopter. You just need a cool pair of shades. Cheshire cats can juggle their own heads. iPads are rudimentary. No Quidditch match ends until the golden snitch is caught. And the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is most certainly 42. Just like real life, fictional worlds operate consistently within a spectrum of physical and societal rules. That's what makes these intricate worlds believable, comprehensible, and worth exploring. In real life, the law of gravity holds 7 book sets of Harry Potter to millions of bookshelves around the world. We know this to be true, but we also know that ever since J.K. typed the word wizard, wand, and Wingardium Leviosa, that law of gravity has ceased to exist on the trillions of pages resting between those bookends. Authors of science fiction and fantasy literally build worlds. They make rules, maps, lineages, languages, cultures, universes, alternate universes within universes, and from those worlds sprout story after story after story. When it's done well, readers can understand fictional worlds and their rules just as well as the characters that live in them do, and sometimes just as well or even better than the reader understands the world outside of the book. But how? How can human-made squiggles on a page reflect lights into our eyes that send signals to our brains that we logically and emotionally decode as complex narratives that move us to fight, cry, sing, and think, that are strong enough not only to hold up a world that is completely invented by the author, but also to change the reader's perspective on the real world that resumes only when the final squiggle is reached? I'm not sure anyone knows the answer to that question, yet fantastical fictional worlds are created every day in our minds, on computers, even on napkins at the restaurant down the street. The truth is, your imagination and a willingness to figuratively live in your own world are all you need to get started writing a novel. I didn't dream up Hogwarts or the Star Wars Cantina, but I have written some science thrillers for kids and young adults. Here are some questions and methods I've used to help build the worlds in which those books take place. I start with a basic place and time. Whether that's a fantasy world or a futuristic setting in the real world, it's important to know where you are and whether you're working in the past, present, or future. I like to create a timeline showing how the world came to be, what past events have shaped the way it is now. Then I brainstorm answers to questions that draw out the details of my fictional world. What rules are in place here? This covers everything from laws of gravity, or not, to the rules of society and the punishments for individuals who break them. What kind of government does this world have? Who has power and who doesn't? What do people believe in here? And what does this society value most? Then it's time to think about day-to-day life. What's the weather like in this world? Where do the inhabitants live and work and go to school? What do they eat and how do they play? How do they treat their young and their old? What relationships do they have with the animals and plants of the world? And what do those animals and plants look like? What kind of technology exists? Transportation, communication, access to information. There's so much to think about. So spend some time living in those tasks and the answers to those questions, and you're well on your way to building your own fictional world. Once you know your world as well as you hope your reader will, set your characters free in it and see what happens. And ask yourself, how does this world you created shape the individuals who live in it? And what kind of conflict is likely to emerge? Answer those questions and you have your story. Good luck, future world builder.
Okay, so we just have a few minutes left before the meeting ends. So what are your guys' thoughts? What did you guys think about that video? I hope you could all hear it okay. Go ahead, Odessa.
I think that it was very inspirational, and I think that it's, well, I can't really put it into words, but I think that it was very inspirational, yes. And just overall, it was great, and yeah.
Yeah, when I first saw this video, I was like, whoa, I want to go out and make my own fictional world. This sounds so cool. So I created a world in my mind, you know, and I called it Dragon Academy. This is like after I just watched the movie How to Train Your Dragon for the first time. This is like 5 years ago or something. So I was a little bit younger, but like I came up with everything. I came up with the headmaster names, and I came like different times we just played as just like a game with my siblings. And, you know, I'd be this different professor or this child of the headmaster or whatever. And I came up with like everything in all the different classes and this whole dragon code language and what the dragons were like. And I drew lots of pictures, and like I totally could live in that world in my head, and I totally know what was going on and how it all worked. And that's like the most vivid world I've ever created in my mind. But what do you guys have any other thoughts about worlds and creating different settings and stuff? Anyone?
I have something to say.
Go ahead.
So, actually during the middle of the movie video, whatever it was, I was like, wait, slow down. I want to write notes. But even though in the story I'm writing, I mean, most of those questions I've answered, but I still want to go and delve deeper into it. It was just like a little exciting booster of enthusiasm.
Yeah, that's awesome. I will send out these links to these videos so you guys can watch them later. For those of you who couldn't hear, you want to take notes or whatever. So I really like that video. It's really helpful. So lastly, I have just a couple more things to say, and then we'll be done with the meeting, but if you want to, you can log back on and tell us about your stories and have problems you have, or tell us about things you're working on in your books or whatever, if you want to. Otherwise, you can just leave. But so I want to tell you about some of the writing resources I have, and I'll also send these links, not these guys, in the chat box and in the email if you want me to. You can just let me know or whatever. Let's see. So one of the resources that's been really helpful for me is fantasynamegenerators.com, and I'll paste that in the chat. It is like one of the most helpful things, though, for me when I'm trying to come up with names, because it has hundreds of names, hundreds of types of names. It's got everything from fantasy to real people to places to sword descriptions. Let's see, what else is there? Family crest generators, orc names, hobbit names, dragon names, wizard names. Like, it's got everything. It's got hundreds and hundreds of names, and like a couple hundred name generator types, and then with hundreds of names in each of those. And it is like really, really helpful. I'll just pop in there and just hit generate a few times, and I'll get exactly what I want, and I'll mix around and stuff. So that's really, really helpful. Another resource I found helpful is helpingwritersbecomeauthors.com. That's really helpful because it's this lady, this writer, and she's written like lots of books, and she has like, 5 books on helping people write books. She has an article or 2 per week and a video per week on writing tips, and she has 1 or 2 people guest post on her blog every week. So she has hundreds and hundreds of articles about all these different things, and she has podcasts and how to create a plot, and then detailed things for each of the plot parts, and there's everything you could possibly need. And there's also this TED Ed is really helpful. There's this other video, I'll just paste it in here. It's just kind of like about how to create conversations in your stories that are interesting. But do you guys have any resources that are helpful to you that you'd like to share? Go ahead, Odessa.
Well, my audio, wait, is that something? Super sorry about that. One of my links just started playing. So, but my source is NaNoWriMo. It's a writing contest type thing where you have to have a challenge to write a novel, but it also gives lots of tips on writing. Like, they have different pep talks and stuff, and like challenges and stuff, like dares and stuff. It has Dare Machine. It has like a lot of stuff on writing, so.
That's awesome. So is that on the youth NaNoWriMo?
Yeah.
Okay, so just for those of you who don't have it, Bucky put it in the chat box, but it's ywp.nanowrimo.org. And Kiara put something in the chat, but she said oops afterwards, so I'm not sure she's meant to do that, but daremachine.com? I don't know. Anyway, also, so I don't know about you guys, but ever since I started writing when I was like 8 years old, I wanted to become like a published author. And I recently found out this resource that can allow you to do this. And normally you have to like pay publishing companies, but this is actually a really great way to do it for free. It's called Create Space. My aunt actually published a book on Create Space, and it's a partner with Amazon.com, and so you can just give them your manuscript, and they will publish your book on Amazon. People can just buy it, and they will create it on demand. So if someone orders one, then they'll make one, but they're not going to have just hundreds waiting around to sell. And so you get, I think, 30 to 70% of the money, and you don't have to pay anything to publish it. You don't have to go through any publishing processes, like, get it approved or anything. You approve it, it's self-publishing, and it's free. So it's really, really awesome. And it's, open to the world on Amazon.com. So I'm looking into doing that in the next year. Go ahead, Odessa.
I think my mom said something about like paying for materials though on Create Space to publish the book. And
perhaps. I'm not exactly sure.
She said that she thought that you had to pay for like materials or something for Amazon to be able to like send it out to people or something.
Yeah, it could be. So if you want to keep talking about this, log back on the meeting. It's going to end in about 10 seconds. So I'm going to end it and then log back on, and we can keep talking. Thanks, everyone. Go ahead, Odessa.
Well, I have this novel that I wrote that actually won NaNoWriMo of 2013. And for a while, I've kind of been trying to revise it, but I like it so much that I don't want to revise it too much. But I don't know how much to revise it and how much to leave. Yeah, so I've been trying to revise that, and it's kind of a cross between fiction and fantasy, realistic fiction and fantasy. So that's the novel that I wrote, and I hope to publish it on Kindle or Create Space, but it says that I don't have enough pages apparently.
Okay. One thing that I found really helpful, I'm writing a book right now, is to have like a test group or just like send it out to some friends. Like I know, Odessa, you've been helping me with my book. So if you're not sure what to edit, you can send it to people that are either older or younger or inexperienced or experienced writers, just like a variety of people. Because some people I know that I send my story to, they're just like, okay, cool. And other people are like, this part's not so good. This doesn't make sense, but I really like this part, and they give detailed feedback. So send it out to people. I mean, I'm certainly willing to go over and look at other people's books and, help you or give you feedback from my perspective as an older writer or, a writer that's been writing for like half my life. So Kiara says she wrote a picture book a while ago, but she's still working on getting published. That's awesome. I actually wrote a picture book, but I haven't done any illustrations for it, and I really want to get it published. I also wrote a story for Christmas that I gave to my grandparents, and they really liked it, and they said I should get it published, like they liked it that much. But I'm not sure exactly what publishing options are out there for a short story. I mean, it's like 3 pages long. So I'm kind of still looking into that. If any of you have any ideas, that'd be great. But if not, that's okay. Because you can't really, like, publish an Amazon Kindle book that's, like, charge $2 for a 2-page thing, But if I could publish it in, like, a church magazine or something like that, that'd be cool. So Odessa says she's never written a picture book before, but she's always written novels and short stories and stuff. Yeah, I actually have a lot of stories that I started, but I never finished. Like, I've done, half of it, or maybe even just like a couple pages of it, because I just have this idea of a story, and then I don't finish it. Go ahead, Odessa.
Oh my gosh.
Your mic switched off.
That is totally me, because I start a story that I think is going to be really good, and then it just keeps droning on, and I never finish it. So.
Yeah, same here. And Kiara says it's the same thing as her.
Like boring. Like it starts really good, and then I just run out of ideas, and I just boring.
Yeah, like I had this idea of this story of this girl who like she's this slave to this can't remember what it was. Not a zombie. It was a goblin. That's what it was. She was a slave to a goblin, and her dad was a goblin, and so it's kind of a tough life. But she's just like, okay, whatever. This is just kind of my life, and it'd be really interesting to read. But I never finished it. I got like one page into it, and there was like all this goblin talk, and had to explain about it. And then I was like, so this is an interesting situation, but she doesn't really have a goal in mind or anything. And I probably have like 50 of those on my computer, and as well as in paper, like I have probably at least 6 notebooks, half full of like 1-page stories. It's really crazy. I have so many. So that's why I'm working on finishing like an entire novel, because I've started stories and I've written short stories, but I'm trying to finish a whole novel right now. So any other thoughts before we go? End the meeting. Otherwise, thank you for coming. Oh, wow. Kiara says she's writing about a girl who has 10 dogs and her mom goes missing. Go ahead, Odessa.
I've been thinking about writing a story about a girl whose parents are elves, like Santa's elves, and around Thanksgiving they disappear, and she goes on this whole trip. She goes on this whole trip to try and find her parents, and finally she this guy tells her about seeing people melt on a boat for the North Pole. And so she actually sneaks aboard a boat or something, and she goes and finds her parents. Yeah, but I haven't.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have a lot of ideas, so I'll just write down the ideas, and then, maybe I'll write it someday. So, I had this idea of writing this story about this elf, just because you said elf, so I'm thinking of Christmas elves, of this kid, kind of like an adult elf or whatever, and he's Santa's elf, and Santa's sitting there on the couch wearing a t-shirt and shorts because it's an extra warm winter, and he's like, I'm too lazy, I don't want to deliver Christmas this year, and then this elf has to convince him to deliver Christmas. I know it's silly, but it'd be kind of cool interest. Anyway, it'd be kind of funny. Maybe it'd be a picture book, I don't know. Anyway, thank you everybody for coming. Go ahead, Odessa.
I think maybe you should change that so that Santa doesn't want to, and maybe the Christmas elf has to try and save Christmas himself, be Santa Claus himself. Maybe.
That would be cool. Yeah. So,
like that, by the way.
Kiara says she's working on a graphic novel about a dog who got stolen. Wow. That would be really interesting. I'm going to stop the recording. You guys can stick around and keep talking or leave or whatever. Thanks, everyone. Bye.